Beholders. One glance at a beholder is enough to assess its full and otherworldly nature. Aggressive, hateful, and greedy, these aberrations dismiss all other creatures as lesser beings, toying with them or destroying them as they choose. A beholder's spheroid body levitates at all times, and its great bulging eye sits above a wide, toothy maw, while the smaller eye stalks that crown its body twist and turn to keep its foes in sight. When a beholder sleeps, it closes its central eye, but leaves its smaller eyes open and alert. Enemies abound, or so every beholder believes. Beholders are convinced that other creatures resent them for their brilliance and magical power, even as they dismiss those lesser creatures as crude and disgusting. Beholders always suspect others of plotting against them, even when no other creatures are around. The disdain a beholder has for other creatures extends to other beholders. Each beholder believes its form to be an ideal, and that any deviation from that form is a flaw in the racial purity of its kind. Beholders vary greatly in their physical forms, making conflict between them inevitable. Some beholders are protected by overlapping chitinous plates. Some have smooth hides. Some have eye stalks that reef like tentacles, while others' stalks bear crustacean-like joints. Even slight differences of coloration in height can turn two beholders into lifelong enemies. Some beholders manage to channel their xenophobic tendencies into a terrible despotism. Rather than live in isolation, the aptly named Tyrants enslave those other creatures, founding and controlling vast empires. An Tyrant sometimes carves out a domain within or under a major city, commanding networks of agents that operate on their master's behalf. Because they refuse to share territory with others, most beholders withdraw to frigid hills, abandoned ruins, and deep caverns to scheme. A beholder's lair is carved out by its disintegration eye ray, emphasizing vertical passages connecting chambers stacked on top of each other. Such an environment allows a beholder to move freely, even as it prevents intruders from easily creeping about. When intruders do break in, the height of its open ceiling allows a beholder to float up and harry foes on the floor. As alien as the creature, the rooms in a beholder's lair reflect the creature's arrogance. It festoons its chambers with trophies from the battles it has won, including petrified adventurers standing frozen in their horrified final moments, pieces of other beholders, and magic items wrested from powerful foes. A beholder judges its own worth by its acquisitions, and it never willingly parts with its treasures. A beholder's central lair is typically a large, spacious cavern with high ceilings where it can attack without fear of closing to melee range. Death Tyrant. On rare occasions, a beholder's sleeping mind drifts to places beyond its normal madness, imagining a reality in which it exists beyond death. When such dreams take hold, a beholder can transform, its flesh sloughing away to leave a death tyrant behind. This monster possesses the cunning and much of the magic it had in life, but it is fueled by the power of undeath. A death tyrant appears as a massive naked skull with a pinpoint of red light gleaming in its low eye socket. With its eye stalks rotted away, 10 spectral eyes hover above the creature and glare in all directions. As they did when there were beholders, Death Tyrants lord their power over other creatures. Moreover, a beholder's ability to quash magical energy within Central Eye gives way to a more sinister power in a Death Tyrant, which can transform former slaves and enemies into undead servants. Zombies created by a Death Tyrant are used and discarded as needed. They stand guard at the entrances to the Death Tyrant's lair or guard its treasure vaults. Acting as bait for traps or as combat fodder, zombies keep powerful enemies distracted while the Death Tyrant moves into position and prepares to destroy them. A Death Tyrant that embraces undeath becomes an engine of destruction. Driven by a hunger for power and security, it advances against humanoid settlements, using its eye rays to destroy every creature it encounters, then building an army of undead. If left unchecked, a Death Tyrant might wipe out the population of a city in weeks, then set its undead eye on a wider conquest. As each settlement falls, the Death Tyrant's zombie forces build to overwhelming numbers. Death Tyrant doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. A Death Tyrant's lair is usually the same site it had as a beholder, but it contains more trappings of death and decay.